Hello everyone, my name is Emily, and today I'm going to be doing a heart-to-heart. Today I want to touch on a kind of serious subject, which is antenatal depression or prenatal depression, or basically depression that occurs while you are pregnant. And I'm not saying that I've been diagnosed or that I'm even 100% sure that I had problems with antenatal depression, but I did have some symptoms which led me to believe that I may or may not have been suffering from a very minor case of it. And I think what people more often hear about is postnatal depression, or the depression that can come after having children. That's the one that I think is more heard, whether it be through the media or through your doctor. And antenatal depression is something I think that is just kind of chalked up to, being your hormonal and your body's changing and your chemistry's changing. So it's, I think, a little bit harder to diagnose. I was very fortunate to not have any suicidal thoughts or long periods of feelings of hopelessness. My emotions were pretty much normal throughout my entire pregnancy, aside from these low points that were very sporadic. They didn't stick around for very long. I did not fit into that, unfortunately, negative stereotype of a hysterical pregnant woman. I definitely was more sensitive, puppy videos and baby videos and sad videos definitely made me cry. Normally tears of happiness or cuteness, but really didn't feel snippy or angry or aggressive or flip-floppy. I was pretty consistent. I was able to control my emotions just as well as I was before being pregnant. I feel like most of humanity has struggled with depression in one way or another. Obviously, there are varying levels of severity of depression, and I've definitely struggled with mild depression in my past. So I'm not completely unfamiliar with those throes of hopelessness, and that's usually how it manifests itself in me. I feel like nothing in the world is right, even though I know rationally that everything is fine. I find that the times I experienced depression then and now, it's very physical, very much in my chest. And it almost feels like I'm actually kind of sick. And I know that can happen to some people. Again, I was very fortunate throughout this pregnancy to have these more sporadic moments than these heavy, long-term feelings of negativity and unhappiness. But the number one thing that makes me believe that I may have suffered a little bit from antenatal depression was my complete and utter lack of inspiration. I very rarely experienced any kind of art block or lack of motivation with my art. If anything, the times that I have not drawn for long periods of time, it's because of some kind of event that's happened in my life that has pulled me away from art. So I was very confused when my first trimester started coming to an end, and I just couldn't put my pencil to the paper and make anything. It was very confusing to me. I didn't understand it. Normally, when I feel like any kind of slight lack of inspiration, all it really takes is, surfing around on Instagram or going to the library and checking out some art books, or going on YouTube and watching some of my favorite artist YouTubers. That's all it really takes. And I recognize how fortunate I am that's all I need to do. But in this moment, when it first started happening, I had no idea what to do. I was completely lost because I'd never really truly experienced that feeling before. Now, that feeling didn't necessarily always go in tandem with the days where I felt completely hopeless. That feeling, save for a few weeks at the beginning and these last few weeks, existed basically the entirety of my pregnancy. So because of that and how turbulent my pregnancy was in terms of random symptoms, by the way, guys, I'm not trying to complain. I'm just trying to share my experience and be real with you guys. I realize there is so many things that could have gone wrong. I could be unhealthy. My baby could be unhealthy. I am so very fortunate that everything has gone smoothly so far. So don't take me talking about my symptoms as me complaining. It's just me being real with y'all, sharing my experience. It's not the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. Just poopy days, poopy days. But anyway, so I feel like the lack of inspiration plus the symptoms really affected my video output rate. I found that doing a lot of PR videos was kind of my only option because they're very straightforward, more technical for me than creative. So I took a lot of PR opportunities during this summer, and it's not something I would really like to continue doing in heavy, heavy chunks like I've been doing. It's just something that was a lot easier for me and on my brain and on my body, honestly, than sitting down and really trying to create a meaningful piece, because I feel if I would have tried to create this really complex, meaningful piece like I like to, and I failed, I was a little bit apprehensive about how I would feel afterwards, especially because of the days of hopelessness. Like, I didn't want to trigger that. So I quite literally took the easy way out, because writing a script and recording myself using a product is easy for me. It's not so much creative brain power that I'm using. And I took a break because I was off from work for the summer and I wasn't feeling great. And I just felt like I needed to do that, because once the baby gets here, I will not have that luxury. But when I was doing that, I had a lot of guilt, and no guilt that you guys have brought upon me. But I think anyone would feel a little guilty for kind of disappearing on anybody, people I know in real life or not. And I realized that my video upload schedule was completely random, and it will continue to be random for a while, just because my life is changing. And basically 100% of you guys have understood that, and that is... I'm just very, very lucky that my viewer base is so understanding and so like-minded. There's so many other mothers my age that watch me and are artists, and those viewers, all of you give me inspiration. But I've heard too many times people tell me that I'm just going to be giving this up. This is something you have to give up once you have a child. And I just can't accept that. I can't accept that because I want art to be a part of my little one's life. I want arts and crafts. I want music. I want to share these wonderful things with my little one. And even though I know I won't be able to pay as much attention to my own personal projects for a while, it doesn't necessarily mean that I can't ever do art again. And I think it's a very negative way to look at having a child, to look at it as, ruining your career or giving up something. This is a new chapter in my life. I am not giving up something. I am gaining a member of my family. And that's all I've been able to look at this as. I am gaining something, and I understand it is going to be hard for as long as I'm alive. Being a parent is such an underrated job, and I am prepared to take on that responsibility. I fell in love with my baby the moment I saw that line appear on that pregnancy test. He was microscopic at that time. He was not even the size of a tip of a pin, and I loved him instantly. I had never felt anything like that. There is no way I am going to look at this as me giving up my art career. I'm just going to be sharing it with one other person. Am I able to give any advice on how to get through antenatal or postnatal depression or depression of any kind? I don't, because depression is different for everyone. If you feel that you might be suffering from a form of depression, I urge you to talk to your healthcare provider about it. Talk to a professional, see what they recommend, because again, everyone is different. and we get over things, whether it be depression or just grieving or being angry at someone. We get over things, we accept things differently. And my advice is not one size fits all. And I hope when I do advice videos that you guys realize that. I always have disclaimers and reminders in my videos that I am not a mental health professional, that I am purely speaking from my own experience. And that may work for some of you and it may not work for others. This piece that I was working on really reflected how I felt hopeless and when I felt like I couldn't create. Sometimes I think that we romanticize depression as artists, and it's this starving artist, this deep, dark, brooding artist, and oh, that's this and this, and I think that there definitely can be beauty in sadness, but to also understand that sadness is sadness. It's not a positive thing. So I drew this delicate doll with these gems and geodes. You know, she's just kind of bursting at the seams, and it's like this beautiful sadness, but it's painful for her. It's a struggle, and it's, you know, it feels like she can't hold it in anymore, and that's why it says beneath, can't take this anymore. I omitted the I because I feel like it's an experience everyone can have. I wanted to remove the angle that it was me speaking, because I feel like everyone has felt this way in one way or another, that some kind of feeling has overtaken them and they just can't take it anymore. It's too overwhelming. I was so happy to be able to sit down and paint my lack of inspiration once my inspiration began to return. This is all watercolors except for the white outlines are acrylic ink. I had so much fun painting this. It was kind of slow goings at first because I was kind of like getting on my feet again after a long period of feeling like I just couldn't paint. And I just want to remind you all that I basically chose not to make these large-scale pieces. I was still sketching every day, but it was still kind of wobbly painting again. And then once I got into it, I was just really having a good time because I felt like I was transferring my emotions from inside onto the page, like I was kind of ridding myself of them. It was incredibly therapeutic. And I'm just happy that I'm kind of starting to return back to my normal self in terms of art. I'm sorry this video was a little all over the place. I kind of was just shooting off the cuff, recording my thoughts, just trying to get my ideas in line. Most of the time for a heart-to-heart, I have little bullet points that I go off of, but not today. I just felt like I needed to just talk today and talk about something that I feel that I've experienced, and hopefully in doing so, make someone else feel not so alone. Because we all go through things. Also, here's some channel-related goodness. I think my next video is going to be a cheap art supply challenge because I haven't found. I've always had my very first watercolor palette in my watercolor drawer. And recently I've just kind of been looking at it and kind of playing with it. And I said to myself, you know what? I really would like to make a larger piece with these watercolors because I think I got them when I was 8, 9, and they're those like watercolor chalky cakes, and they're pretty pigmented considering. So I'm kind of curious to play around with those and maybe do like a draw it again challenge with those watercolors. That would be really cool. And that's another thing I've been meaning to do is a draw this again challenge. I know it really rustles people's jimmies in the art community when you call something a challenge and it's not really a challenge, but I'm kind of like, about it. That more came from popular YouTube tag culture than it did from the art community. So I'm not really that upset about it. If I want to throw challenge in there, then that's fine. But I get the sentiment that it's, you know, if it's not challenging you, why call it a challenge? I get it. Also, if you guys ever hear like a weird in the background of my videos, it's because I have probably the squeakiest chair and also the crackliest headphones ever. And I don't really have a choice over either because I love these headphones and I'm not gonna drop like $60+ on another chair when I have a perfectly good, albeit squeaky chair here. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to stay out of trouble. See you guys later.